If money feels heavier right now than probably in a very long time, if you're not imagining it and you're not failing, and honestly, you're not the problem. The truth is, we are living in a system that makes it incredibly hard for everyday people to get ahead. And no one in charge, meaning our government, seems to be interested in fixing that. But here's what I want you to know: you're not powerless. There is a way forward, and it starts inside of you with the way you see yourself, the beliefs you inherited, and the stories that are running your life, probably without your permission. So today we're going to start rewriting all of that, and that's where I want to begin today. Look, I know how you feel. I know how you feel because maybe every time you look at your online statement or you open your bank account, your chest gets a little tighter. Maybe every time you buy groceries and you're doing this, the math in your head before you get to the register. Well, it's not really mathing for you, is it? Or every time you think about your future and something inside you whispers, oh my goodness, I'm never going to get ahead. I just want you to know that you're not failing. You're not broken. And most of what you're carrying, it's not even yours. So let me explain. From the day you were born, and this is grounded in research, this isn't Lori speaking, between 0 and 7, everything you hear, everything that you process is stored in your body. And you just record everything that is said, whether it's said to you or you're in the vicinity of it. And you do not have, at 7 years old, any critical thinking. You cannot think, oh, my parents are just joking, or this will pass, or this. You don't have any of that critical thinking. And you certainly didn't have the ability to question it or filter certain things out. You could only record it. And the key, you recorded everything as the truth. Everything is the truth. Whether it was the way your mom's voice changed maybe when the bills came in, or the silence at the dinner table if money was talked about, or maybe in the tension in the car if something broke down and you needed that extra $100 or whatever it was. It was just that feeling in the air, the one that I guess made you feel that good things just wouldn't last. Well, that belief just soaked into your bones. And then from 7 to 12, they always say 0 to 12 is the most informative years. Well, from 7 to 12, you've taken those recordings and you have hardwired them into your operating system, into your brain. They become the code running your whole adult life, usually without your permission. And then you wonder why you self-sabotage things every time maybe you do get ahead, or you panic every time there's an extra $50 decision you need to make. Or why does everybody else seem to have financial stability, but I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop? This is why. It's because of that programming from 0 to 12. But the good news is you can rewrite it. I personally grew up in generational poverty, family after family after family. And money was not a tool for my family, where I view money today as a tool, right? It's to help you get something that you desire. It's not meant to be clutched or saved. Money was a survival for us back then. And when I was 16 years old, I stood in a hospital room, young, determined, and probably a little naive, but I made a promise to myself that this generational stuff, it ended with me there. And I made a whole video about that promise. I called it the 40-year promise, and I'll tag it at the end of this video if you're interested. But what I need you to understand, just because I made that promise at 16 didn't mean it was smooth sailing. It meant, 3 steps forward, but 10 steps back. It meant trying and failing and trying again. It meant decades of really not knowing how to actually keep that promise. And in my early 30s, I was a single mom. I had gotten divorced, and I was a single mom with 2 kids. And I had no child support coming in, and my company had restructured. And about 20% of my salary was gone, just gone. And the bills were piling up, and the pressure was unbearable. And at the time, I thought I did everything I could to keep it together, but it still wasn't enough. And I'm extremely embarrassed to say that I filed for bankruptcy in my mid-30s. Me, the woman who promised at 16 that this generational poverty would end with her. And I just remember thinking, how did I get here again? Because here's what nobody told me. Here's what I didn't know, right? Willpower alone doesn't break the generational patterns. Hard work alone doesn't rewrite my subconscious programming. And my promise alone, it didn't change the code that was running my life. It wasn't until my early 40s that something clicked. I'm not really sure what, but I had been remarried, two great incomes coming into the house, but I still felt scared and fearful all the time when it came to money. I still spent money because way more than I should have, because I felt that the stuff that money bought me is what actually created real wealth. I'm not sure if that makes sense, because I had to appear, right? I had to appear wealthy on the outside. But at this point, I was raising three kids. I had my third daughter, and I realized then that if I didn't start doing the inner work that was really needed, if I don't actually start rewriting those embedded messages that were in my subconscious, history would repeat itself. And not just for me, for my kids. Just because I told them not to let this generational stuff happen to them, that wasn't going to prevent it, right? They're still going to pick it up from me, from my panic, my patterns, just my subconscious beliefs running around in the background. I had to be the change. I had to be the change I wanted them to have in their adult lives. And I feel my kids are my greatest accomplishment, and I would do anything for them. So that's when I really started digging in. And I have shared that Wayne Dyer, greatest mentor of all time. And through my 30s, I didn't spend a whole lot of time with him, but I picked him up again in my early 40s. And he had shifted his teachings a little bit. It was more about spirituality, which I readily connected to. But he also talked about a book, I remember, by James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. And I read it for the first time in my early 40s, and I'll be honest, it's a very difficult read. I didn't necessarily, not everything resonated with me, but I knew for the first time I wasn't just trying to work harder, that I was actually doing things to make things change, the inner work. And what that book showed me, I guess if I had to sum it up, is your identity, it shapes your reality, right? Your thought patterns create your outcomes. But the power that you have inside is when you can do everything from a sense of calm. And if I had to sum it up in one phrase, your inner world shapes your outer world. That's it. What's going on inside here shapes what goes on out there. Your action has to be inspired. It has to come from in spirit, right? That's what inspired me, is it comes from in spirit, not from a place of franticness. And it wasn't just a motivational book. It really allowed me to look in the mirror and see the woman who was staring back at me. And it showed me why I kept ending up in the same place, no matter how many promises I made, no matter how hard I worked, and I worked hard, and no matter how much I promised myself, and no matter how badly I wanted things to be different. The program, 15 files deep in my brain and my subconscious, was still running the program. And until I rewrote it, nothing was going to change. So let me be clear. This video and then the next several videos that I'm going to do, it's not about pretending the economy is fine. It's not about manifesting checks showing up in your mailbox or ignoring the pile of bills on your table. And certainly I'm not going to be spreading toxic positivity dressed up as spirituality. The first thing I want us to learn is how to calm your nervous system down, because you have to do everything from a calm nervous system. Especially when you start thinking about money or talking about money, that it doesn't send you into a fight or flight circumstance. And then I want us to rewrite that subconscious programming that's still working in the background, that you didn't choose and you certainly don't deserve. And we'll take small steps, small little steps that, to allow your body to trust you. And I'll help you learn some financial skills. And I guess this is a good point for YouTube to say, I am not giving any financial advice. In fact, I follow this one woman. She's great. And I will put her in a link in the description to her YouTube channel. She's phenomenal, that if you do want some financial skills, watch some of her videos and see if you resonate with her. But I want to teach you from a place of peace. That I can do. That, from my lived experience, I can show you how to go from being scared to finding a place of peace inside you and becoming the kind of person who can hold on to that wealth and not always chase it, and certainly not worry about the other shoe dropping all the time. Because I learned the hard way. When your inner world shifts, when you stop running that old code, and when you start believing deep in your bones that you're safe, you're capable, And more important than anything, you are worthy. You are worthy. Hear me. Everything outside will start to shift. Slowly, consistently, but for real. So before we go, I want you to do one thing. I want to leave you with a question. And I don't want you to overthink it. I just want it to land, however it lands with you. What's one money story that you're ready to stop dragging around with you? Maybe it's I'm terrible with money. People like me don't get ahead. If I relax and don't stop parceling, everything will fall apart. Name just one. Write it down. Let it breathe. Walk away from it. Come back to it. And just see what it brings up in you. And then ask yourself, if money was not an issue, if I was not concerned about what's in my bank account, what would I do today? What is the first thing I would do? And not some crazy thing. What would you do today from that sense of peace? And don't rush the answer. Just let it come. Notice what shows up. That's the beginning. That is the beginning from building wealth from the inside out. Remember, folks, you matter. You're enough just the way you are. I'll talk to you soon.